Have you ever joined a fast growing company and felt like the work kept expanding, but the clarity never did? One day you were hired for a role, the next day you're filling gaps, carrying decisions, and holding things together without ever being told that it is now your job? In this episode, I'm joined by EA Clarke to talk about what actually happens inside companies when growth outpaces clarity. We unpack why talented women end up overfunctioning, how culture and hiring decisions quietly shape burnout and performance, and why so many careers struggle are really system problems, not personal ones. If you have ever felt stretched inside a role that kept shifting, this conversation will help you understand what is really going on. Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're ambitious, capable, and quietly carrying more than your role reflects, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, promotion and compensation coach, and I help women fast track their next promotion by teaching them how to show their value so clearly leadership can't overlook them. Here, we talk about career advancement, visibility, burnout recovery, and building confidence without burning yourself out or shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's get into it. Hello and welcome. My guest today is EA Clarke. EA has spent decades working at the intersection of leadership, hiring, and growth. He's built and sold a startup, joined another as a founding executive, helped raise nearly $14 million, and scaled teams from the inside, not from theory, but from lived experience. And across that work, he kept noticing a pattern. Companies don't struggle to hire because there's a lack of talent. They struggle because clarity, communication, and expectations get lost as they grow. When that happens, people compensate. They overfunction. They fill gaps. They carry what the system isn't holding. I wanted this conversation for working women because so many leadership challenges aren't about effort or capability. They're about how teams are built, how roles are defined, and how stories are told inside organizations. Today, we're going to talk about hiring, culture, growth, but through the lens of what it feels like to work inside fast moving companies and what actually helps people perform without burning out. EA, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate the invite, and yeah, that introduction suggests that this should be an exciting this should be an exciting podcast. So good.
Yes, yes. Okay, so you've been inside early stage companies as they grow fast and quickly. When things start to feel messy or heavy for the team, what usually is happening beneath the surface?
I think well, first of all, in these early stages, it's assumed that the founders and the initial hires actually know what to do, and that's not often the case. So when they have to grow, they're not sure how, they're not sure the type of person that they need. And so they struggle somewhat with that. And I was having a conversation with a customer just the other day, and the analogy they used, I really like it, and I've used it a couple of times since, but they said, when you're growing quickly in early stages, the last thing you want to do is throw a brick into the pond. You really want to throw pebbles.
Mm,
And I love that analogy because at the end of the day, you can look for talent. But if
mhm.
that talent is a cultural brick, they're going to create like really serious waves within that organization that
Right.
often will be very challenging to overcome. So what you need to do is you need to combine the talent that you need, the basic requirements of the role, and a personality and a culture fit that's really the pebble. We're going to make some waves, but they're going to be gentle and they're going to be progressive and they're going to go in the direction that everybody needs them to go. So I think that's the big challenge early on is finding the right cultural fit. Um,
Yeah,
because when you're 5, 10, 15 people, one person can make a significant difference in that group. And
absolutely.
that is the key, I think, to success. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what about these working women that feel like they're getting into this new role and they're taking on way more responsibility than what their role really requires? What does that signal for them? What would you give them the advice to do in that situation?
Well, you know what? There is a balance between figuring out how to solve all the problems and taking bite-sized chunks out of that and solving them one at a time. I do think typically what people do is they recognize that they're stretched because there just aren't the resources, and the challenge they face there is that, if you juggle everything, you probably aren't doing anything very well. And
That's
so
true.
I think it's a requirement to kind of say what's important today, what's important this week, focus on those issues, solve them, and then move on. But often juggling doesn't really get you very far.
Right. And I would assume that communication with your team, especially because it's probably a smaller team, would be very important in these situations to say, okay, what is the priority that we feel for this week or this month to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yes,
Correct.
I think I agree with you. I think that's a good strategy, but I also might say that, people in early stage high growth companies cannot be frustrated with needing to pivot. Um,
Mm,
you know what what's right and focused today may in fact not be right to focus on next week.
yeah.
And I think you just have to realize that the business is moving quickly. People are learning as they grow. You know, let's reserve the right to be smarter today than we were yesterday. And
Yes.
if we can take that and say, okay, good, I know more today than I knew yesterday. So this is going to change how I operate. I think everyone needs to be okay with that. And I'm not, if you're someone that gets frustrated with those pivots and those changes, that's probably the wrong environment for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look at those as I'm actually smarter, I'm going to do things differently today. This is great. I'm going to get closer to the customer, solve the problem better.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you kind of focus on that, and that's really we when I talked earlier about the brick and the pebble. The
Right.
pebble recognizes that, thing changes are going to happen. We'll just have to move with those as we learn. The brick
Mm-hmm.
gets really frustrated with those and creates confrontation.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I know AI has become a big topic. How do you see that affecting all of this hiring and in these companies? And what are your thoughts on AI?
Have you got an hour? Um, this is a big topic, Sharon. Um, so everywhere I go, every social setting I'm in, that question comes up over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, for pivot and edge customers, I think the response to that may be a little bit more straightforward than it is to others. The customers that we have believe that in order to recruit the talent you need to tell the story of the founder. You need to tell the story about why are we growing? Why are we building? What's our vision? What's our mission? And what's important to the founder and the executive suite to take this company to the next level.
Hmm.
If you believe storytelling is key to finding the cultural fit candidates that you need, and all our customers do, that's why they hire us,
Right.
they would never put an AI bot in front of that process.
Yeah.
No one can tell the story better than the founder. No one can tell the story better than the C suite. And you need to be able to tell that story direct to candidate pool
Right.
to entice the right people that fit your culture. Now, I think AI plays a role. I mean, I think I don't think people would take me seriously if I said AI doesn't play any role at all. Pivot
Yeah.
and Edge, I think, is a good example. We evaluate our tech stack all the time.
Mhm.
What's the best tools we should use to respond to our customer requirements. So AI is a part of that tech stack for sure, but
Right.
it's critical to our operational piece. It streamlines interviewing process. It
Mhm.
streamlines the ability to have our hiring managers get information into our databases so that we learn faster and can target better in terms of candidates. So we put it in the process, and it has sped up the process significantly. But
Right.
AI in front of the storytelling to connect the customer story, our customer story with
Right.
potential candidates, our customers wouldn't do it, and we will never do it.
Yeah, because there's so much about like the feelings behind it when you are telling your story, the passion, the heartache, the struggle, and so I love storytelling because I think that that is just it. You just really get to know someone when you have that deep story in there.
I mean, if I asked you to tell your story of this podcast, you'd have one. If you asked me to tell the story of Pivot and Edge, I'd have one. It
Right?
comes with it comes with the motivation to build something. It comes with, you know, Pivot and Edge 8 years. It's been around 8 years.
Wow.
I would say just in the last two or three, it's truly delivering on what I believed it could deliver on. It took that long, mistakes along the way. And, you know, when you've put that much effort and energy into something, and I've done that a couple of times before this, given an opportunity to tell that story, I love that.
Yeah.
I worked way too hard to keep it a secret.
Right. Exactly. I mean, your struggles, I feel like you're part of your struggles or your challenges or your failures, even telling those is a big part of what got you to where you are right now. And you can be in gratitude. For me, I always like to be in gratitude that I already learned that lesson or I got to learn that lesson. So I think that that's great. And yeah, like you said, you worked way too hard to hide it.
And you're right. Part of those stories are the life lessons. I've used that term many times. I used to use it when my daughter would do things that I didn't think. I said, "Okay, this is the time for the life lesson." And those were never, good conversations, but they were valuable ones that that you know uh transitioned the direction, allowed people to make better choices. So yeah, life lessons, those challenging times are really they're part of my story for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a lot of women listening, and maybe they're having some challenging moments right now. What would you advise for them? And if they're just like, I'm in a hard spot right now, especially with my career, what would advice would you give for them?
I think you need to find like-minded people in your community that can walk you and talk you through those challenges. You're going to find pretty quickly you're not alone in that. And to your point earlier, you really enjoy or not enjoy, you're comfortable with the fact that you look at a situation and say, I've learned before about this, so I can provide value here. And I think that's what you get out of community. Community is critically important in going to the next level. I don't think anyone should take this responsibility on alone. And I do think there's large numbers of people that can share a story that's similar, share stories that would add value to the story that you have and help you along. So don't work in isolation. Reach out to community and let the communities provide you support along the way.
Yes, I love that because I mean, whether it's life, career, anything, you need your little tribe, you need your village to help you because you aren't supposed to go at it alone.
No, no, and
No,
there's no fun in it alone.
no.
Actually, I don't think there are times I guess when you need to be alone.
Yeah.
I do, and in long distance running, for example, I used to enjoy those times when I would train for marathons and so on. But the majority of time, my life learnings, my fun has always been, with community.
Yes, absolutely. Me
Yep.
too. Me too. I sometimes need a few minutes by myself to just decompress, but I need
Mhm.
my community.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
go ahead. So what other advice would you give to these women that are listening? Maybe they're in this about to go into a startup or they're in the midst of it. What other advice would you give to them to just help make them feel encouraged?
Uh, um, First is if you're beginning the journey of an entrepreneur and starting something, you're in an elite group, a very small percentage of people ever take this risk. So I think you should feel special that you have the motivation and the energy to kind of do these things. Um, And you can test that theory just talking to people in your community and socially. How many people around you would be taking the risks that you're taking and, moving forward in the way you're doing it? Not many.
Right.
So reflect on how important you are and how valuable, that personality and characteristics that you have come together for you to be in this situation. The next thing I would say is that this may or may not be a success, but the attitude and approach that you're taking likely would suggest that this won't be the last kick at it. If this one doesn't work, I think your personality is one that you're going to look for the next opportunity. So don't
Great.
be disappointed if this one doesn't work. Just recognize that, starting a business is hard and
Mhm.
not a lot of people do it. But once you've done it and it's successful, I would suggest you will never ever look back.
I love that. I love that. So, EA, how can our listeners connect with you to learn more about what you do and your work?
They can email me at eaclarke@pivotandedge.com. You can go to our website at pivotandedge.com and leave and submit a form that says I want to talk and just mention in the form, yeah, you heard me on the podcast. Um, and that's kind of the easy way to do it. And if I'd be very uh I'd really enjoy adding to your community, whoever is listening. So if you would like me to be part of that community, just reach out and I would be glad to take the time and share some more of my stories.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you. Okay, as we wrap up, I love to leave the listeners with a small action step or a mindset change that they can make today. So, what is one small thing that a working woman listening right now could pay attention to this week that would help her understand where she's struggling personally or responding to a system that needs more clarity? What advice would you give?
I'd practice your story.
Yes.
I'd spend time putting that story together in a what I would suggest is an elevator speech. How do you tell your story in 2 minutes or less? And and that won't be easy at first. You know, what's that phrase? If I had longer to spend, my note to you would be a lot smaller. In other
Yeah.
words, if I have all kinds of time, I can just ramble on and eventually get to the point that I'm trying to
Right.
make. But I'm in an elevator and we're going up to the 60th floor, and you got to tell me your story. Can you? And if you can't practice it and figure out what it is, get it tight, get it succinct, and that will help you socially, help you in your community, help you in raising money, help you in building customer base, help you creating growth opportunities where you attract talent to your organization. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would spend some time practicing your story.
That's great. That's great. I need to practice mine better and get it down to 2 minutes or less. So I'm going to
Well,
accept that challenge.
well, well, after 8 years of Pivot and Edge, I changed it about 6 months ago. I was
Oh,
at a social event and someone made a comment, and I thought that's a better way to say that. And so you'll never stop fixing it or adapting it or altering it. It's probably it's a lifelong dream to get it right. But yeah, start with getting your story as tight as you can.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I enjoyed it very much.
Before you go, I want you to know this. You don't have to figure out your next move alone. If you're feeling stuck, under-recognized, or unsure what's realistically possible in your current role, I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your goals, your role, and what makes the most sense for you next. No pressure, just clarity. You can book that call through the link in the description. And if this episode resonated, would you share it with another woman who might need it right now? Leaving a review also helps this show reach more women who are ready for real career growth. I'll see you next time.